sit back and relax. You're listening to the WealthTech Today podcast. I'm your host, Craig Iskowitz, founder of Ezra Group Consulting, and this podcast features interviews, news, and analysis about the trends and best practices of wealth management technology. My guest for this episode was Larry Shumbres, founder and CEO of Archive Intel. We spoke about a couple of topics. First is a problem facing most wealth management firms, which is dealing with legacy compliance and off-channel communications, and the solution provided by Archive Intel, their AI-powered archiving and native text capture. Larry shared a bit of their 2026 roadmap, and we hit on AI data management as well as AI governance. And speaking of AI governance, it seems everyone these days wants to talk to us about oversight and management of AI. But this is only possible if your underlying tech and data strategy is designed with AI in mind. If you're running a wealth management firm and have questions about how you can best support and control your growing AI infrastructure, I want to tell you about a terrific offering from Ezra Group. We call it our Fractional CTO service, or Fracto. Our Fracto service can support your current CTO on specific projects or help build your technology and data strategy from the ground up. We can help your ops team from drowning in manual workarounds, or if you just made an acquisition, but now you've got 2 CRMs, 5 custodians, and nobody knows which system is the source of truth. Our Fracto service puts Ezra Group's senior consultants in your corner on a monthly retainer. We can fix your integrations, clean up your data, and execute those projects that have been sitting on the back burner for years. If you want to free up your firm for exponential growth, you need to run, not walk to our website, ezragroup.com, and click the golden Contact Us button on the homepage to schedule a free consultation. We know what works and what doesn't. And now my standard housekeeping chores. Please subscribe to the show. Make sure to check out our sponsor, the Invest in Others Charitable Foundation, at investinothers.org. And if you are a software vendor in the wealth management space, please make sure to register your product at our vendor portal so that your product's wealth tech integration score will always be up to date. Now let's kick this thing off.
All right. I'm excited to introduce our next guest. It's Larry Shumbres, founder and CEO of Archive Intel. Larry, glad to talk to you, man.
Great to see you, and thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
It's what we do. We talk to great fintech firms, and I've been anxious to get you on the program, so I'm glad you can make it. Where are you calling in from?
Atlanta, Georgia.
Beautiful. It's a beautiful place. I'm usually in New Jersey, but I'm on the road. I'm recording on the road. So we're doing this live. We got a lot to talk about, but why don't we kick it off? If you could give us a 30-second elevator pitch for anybody who doesn't know about Archive Intel.
Yeah, perfect. Yep. Archive Intel is an all-in-one AI-powered archiving and compliance solution, or covering client communications and AI marketing review for the financial industry. So making sure that all financial firms stay compliant and regulated for the SEC and FINRA audits, and make sure that they have everything that they need in one easy to use solution.
We like easy to use, and we like all in one. It's always a good thing. But this is not your first rodeo. It's your second startup. You founded another firm 9 years ago called Totem Risk. So what was some of the biggest lessons you learned that helped you get traction with this new firm?
Yeah, the one thing was to find like a real pain point across the industry, right, and solve for it. With Totem Risk, it was there was a pain point, but there wasn't a major pain point. And I believe at the time, Risk Allies was solving for it. So we were somewhat of a Me Too product, but we were solving for more of the risk capacity area, but not really making a big dent in an advisor's day-to-day life, right? With Archive Intel, what I heard out in the industry while I was building Totem were a lot of complaints around the legacy products out there when it came to client communications and archiving. And based on the information that I collected from well over 200 RIAs, compliance consultants, asset managers, broker dealers, there seemed to be a strong need and a pain point to solve for an easier AI-driven compliance solution in the industry. And that's one of the reasons why we built Archive Intel.
You jumped ahead. That was the next question. It was the pain points. But so let me just pretend you didn't say that. No, the one thing I always say is there's always room for another vendor, another product because of innovation and changes in the industry and changes in technology. So we've got over 30 just on the Kitz's Ezra Group Advisor Tech map that I do with Michael Kitz's. We have 30 compliance and archiving tools. So you mentioned the couple pain points that you heard that you saw when you talked to these firms, and that gave you the backup to launch, or the support to launch this company. But is there anything else you see that you think gives you a competitive advantage?
Yeah, so when we started to map out the product before we even launched it, we were looking at what are the major pain points that we could solve for that are other firms out there aren't doing. One that was pretty simple and easy was just something new and modern that was easy to use. You could get your data out easily. We heard that was difficult to get your data out, run reports from old legacy products. So that was something that we could quickly and easily solve for. But as we were mapping out the archiving process, we realized that everyone was manually going through these review processes. So the first thing that jumped out to us is like, all right, well, AI could run through and reduce all these flag false positives. Like the old school way of adding lexicons or keywords and phrases to capture anything in client communications, like guaranteed or sure bet, or anything that would be non-compliant. The issue that we heard was nonstop time to manually review all these flag false positives. So we built out AI using large language model, AWS Bedrock models, and then adding our prompts and guidelines around it, then testing it before we put it into place. And we were able to, over time, get that up to a reduction of 99%. And then we also saw that they were running these random reviews on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis. And we added an AI agent to be able to run that review, finish the review for them. And if anything's out of compliance, it moves it to an escalated folder. So those were like the first few things that we saw right away. And then as we start to grow the company, we saw all these SEC fines around texting. And we had an app with a different phone number. And it was almost like the same thing that you saw with MyRepChat or any other products out there in the market. But what we found is like firms were not easily capturing their text messages. So that was a huge pain point that we saw immediately with all the SEC fines, is that how do we solve for easily using your own phone number and your own phone and segmenting your clients from your personal text and capturing that data on your own phone, right? So that was like the big thing that we solved for. And the third, I'd say, pain point that we saw in the industry to separate us from other products in the industry.
That's awesome. And as you mentioned, there have been SEC fines. Just in January. Oh, it was January last year. Sorry. There was it was 2 years ago. SEC charged 26 firms for off-channel communication violations, including some of the biggest broker-dealers. They had a combined civil penalties of $390 million, which is the highest penalty they've ever seen. So clearly there are a lot of problems still with these off-channel communications. So why are firms still struggling with this even after all these fines are coming out?
Yeah, it's interesting. We hear why they're struggling in many reasons. One is the fact that the options out there are limited, right? There's options where you could download another app, you have to download another phone number, then you have to add your contacts and try to utilize that app separate from directly texting your clients. So what you're doing is then you're reaching out to your client saying, hey, don't text me on my personal phone, text me through this app or some other channel, which most clients don't want to do, right? You want to keep your client happy. They want to call you. They want to text you. They want some easy communication. The other issue was we saw firms distributing another phone with another phone number. Same issue, right? Here, don't call me on my personal phone, call me on this phone. Don't text me on my personal phone, text me on this phone, right? It's just something that is an issue that we see out in the marketplace today. What we solve for is you could use your own phone number, you download our app only to capture and select the texts or the contacts that you want to archive, right? We call it whitelisting. And then from there, you just use the native iMessage, Android, or WhatsApp and text your clients, and we'll archive only your client contacts and not your personal information.
That is awesome. Really cool. I really like that. So you talk about personal text, business text, multiple phones. And you also mentioned a little bit about agentic. I want to dive into that a little bit. So you've got an agent that does replaces the random reviews and reduces false positives by 99%, but then moves the ones that are true positives into an escalated folder. So does this allow the compliance officer to move from, I would imagine, a manual reviewer to just a supervisor of a bunch of AI agents instead?
Yeah, absolutely. What we've seen out there with some firms is they had, millions of emails, and we're talking emails alone, Craig, not social media or text or anything like that, where out of those 2 million emails in like 1 month, they had 200,000 that were flagged, right? And most of them were flagged false positives. They couldn't even keep up with that. So they're outsourcing it outside the country to other compliance companies to go through this data, right? We ran that through our AI, with our agentic AI and our AI models, and we were able to reduce that by 99%. So huge time savings for them to, number one, not have to outsource it and have that issue, another compliance issue by outsourcing it outside the country, but also not having to hire another compliance person, and really just be able to manage the data internally quickly. So huge time savings with agentic AI and AI in general.
Yeah, I mean, there was a survey, Smarsh did a surveillance survey showing that vast numbers of alerts with mostly false positives, which contributes to heavy manual workload and significant operational drag. So would you say, have you done any estimates of the ROI for firms that reduce their false positives by this tremendous amount?
We have, like, some of the larger firms, of course, it's saving them hundreds of hours a year, right? Smaller firms, it's still saving them hours and sometimes days, because the smaller firms, you'll have, an advisor, or even if it's just a compliance officer or you're outsourcing it to a compliance consultant, it's also saving them a tremendous amount of time where they're not spending their whole weekend reviewing their communications to make sure that they're, not false positives, or they are, right? So huge time savings there. And then the biggest time saving is for those large firms where they have millions of client communication through email and text. We're not only saving them time, but a tremendous amount of money where they could focus and spend more of that money on other compliance needs or other areas of the business, as well as not reducing headcount, but having that compliance headcount focus on more important things like maybe AML or something like that at the firm.
Excellent. So I'm going to throw you a little bit of a softball here. A 2025 Pricewaterhouse Global Compliance Survey reports that while 70% of organizations view AI as essential for compliance, there still remains confusion among execs about what AI-powered actually means. So how should wealth management executives evaluate whether an archive vendor is truly AI-powered or just sort of using it around the edges?
Yeah, I'm glad that you asked that question, Craig, because I do explain how we're using AI and LLMs and models to all of our clients, because a lot of firms out there are just saying, oh, we have generative AI or we have AI and this is how it works and we're helping you here, but they really can't prove or show anything, right? So two things that we offer. One is an AI policy and privacy policy that we share, how we're utilizing the data, how we're using AI, LLMs, models, prompts, etc., as well as agentic AI, and even pushing data to data lakes, right? And then we have within our product, we show in our platform how we test the models and how compliance consultants have tested the models. So we could show that live in real time. We'll put in any type of contextual AI in there, and it'll capture that and show that it is either compliant or non-compliant. And then if there's something that we do catch that should be not compliant, we could train the model and send that information over to our data science team.
Nice. So that leads me into the next question. You talk about how you show how you test the models. The SEC's recent exam priorities explicitly highlight model governance, explainability, and documentation as key focus areas when firms deploy AI in supervisory processes. So, do you have a report that your clients can run if they get audited that shows here's why the AI agent flagged or didn't flag a specific communication?
Yeah, so we have the model that they could test and show. We also have many reports that they could run within the solution. They could filter, search, export any of that data at any time through into any format, right? Whether it's PDF, EML, PST, whatever kind of format they're looking for. We have clients call us every day. I would say every day, but at least a few clients call us a week who are going through an audit. And the SEC and FINRA are always asking for all different types of information within the client communication platform. And a lot of it is around what has AI flagged, what did they not flag, who reviewed it, did you review it after AI went through the review process, and they want to make sure that they could see that audit trail and audit log, as well as easily export that information for the SEC or FINRA or whoever is conducting that audit at the time.
Very good. All right. So next up, we're talking about downstream archiving, and maybe you can explain a little bit about what downstream archiving, the downstream review in a compliance model, and how these communications are captured and reviewed after the fact, and how your product helps with that.
Yeah. So today, I mean, you're still seeing a number of products out there capture data across all client communications, email, social media, website, texting, chat. And there's other areas where I feel that the SEC and FINRA will probably start to regulate more in the future, such as video, voice, AI note takers. That's one where I think could be like the hidden or the new off-channel communication that we're missing. But yeah, the key is to make sure that, number one, you're archiving everything, right? That you're doing at your firm, and two, that you can easily manage it, review it, have AI come in and review and help you out in the process, and get it done in all-in-one solution. Whereas in the past, it was a lot of disparate systems not talking to each other, trying to pull data together, and we still see that today, and we're replacing a lot of those old legacy systems.
Excellent. The Deloitte's 2025 Financial Services Risk and Compliance Outlook identifies legacy data migration as one of the highest operational risk events during compliance platform modernization. So when you're coming into a client, maybe a large RIA, and they've got to migrate decades of legacy data, what are some of the biggest mistakes that firms make, and how do you have helped them to avoid those mistakes?
I would say we walk them through this process because we do this quite often. The first thing is we want to make sure that they're exporting the data from that legacy system to the right file format, right? EML is like an email format that, whether it's coming over from social media, text, or email, it'll come over in that format, so it's easily readable and searchable. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is just making sure that we're sending it through a secure file format like SFMTP or SMTP or SFMTP, right? Those two are probably the easiest way securely to bring it over. The one thing that we do notify the client about is, depending on the file size, if we're talking terabytes of data, it could take some time, sometimes days, sometimes weeks, to ingest all that data before they'll have access to it.
Was that difficult for you guys? Did you expect? Obviously, you expected that, but how did you build out that capability to help to support these firms with these huge data loads?
Yeah, it's something that we incorporated in the product from the beginning. We continue to enhance, right? Like when we started the company, our focus was, SMB market, small to medium sized, RIAs, large RIAs, asset managers, broker dealers. And as we continue to grow, looking at the back end code and infrastructure, we built that out to scale, adding in more like I would say like search capabilities, query capabilities, where you could pull that data out faster. That's another pain point that we saw in the industry is historical data that comes over or historical data that is in old legacy systems. Anytime they try to pull it out and get access to that data, depending on the size of the firm, and we've seen this with larger firms, it could take them days or weeks to get that data out. Where one focus for us was to make sure that if we're going back into hundreds of terabytes of data and years of data, can we get that out within like 12 hours, right? Which seems like a long time, but really it's not compared to what we've seen in the marketplace. Now, if it's less than a terabyte of data, they could get their data out within a few minutes, depending on the size of the report and information that they're looking for.
Amazing how things have changed when it comes to managing tremendous amounts of data, right? Our hard drive used to be a terabyte hard drive used to be huge, right? And now it's you can buy it for $100.
Yeah, I think the one thing that we're going to see in the next 12 to 18 months, or maybe hopefully sooner, is the ability to use natural language models and AI agents and RAG bots to get the data out of data lakes. Like take all the data that you're ingesting with client communications, with archive intel, with practice management system, like you mentioned, you were at Advison's conference or an Orion. Take all the data from all your fintech and regtech systems, dump it into a data lake, and then have AI agents and guardrails using natural language model to easily pull that data a lot faster. I think that's where I see everything going, instead of old school way of moving data over and then pulling data out through the old filter and searches.
So are you seeing more wealth management firms building their own data lakes and you're integrating your application into those, or is it still hit and miss?
Yeah, a lot of the RIAs that are managing at least $1 billion in AUM or more, and some asset managers, so definitely the broker dealers, we see that they have their own data lakes. They have their own AI agents. They'll have anywhere from 5 to 15 agents. So we could push the data into their data lake, and they could utilize their agents. We could also build our agents into that if needed. If the one thing that's easier for us, if they already have a lot of AI agents, is build like a RAG bot around or into one of the agents to be able to pull in or pull out the data specifically for a compliance officer and their needs.
All right, so I think you're going to have to describe that for the audience who may not know what a RAG bot is.
A RAG bot, it's almost like a live chat bot that you could speak to automatically send you information. So if you're talking to like a Siri, right? But Siri is not going to give you everything. It's only going to give you compliance data.
So it's a chatbot just for compliance data.
Yes. Yeah. Pretty much.
Very good. All right. We are running out of time. That was fast. I got a couple more questions I want to try to squeeze in. So Microsoft did a digital compliance research survey with Pricewaterhouse, talking about embedding compliance signals directly into the CRM workflows, which drives faster issue identification and reduces friction. So how does integration of compliance data into CRMs like a Salesforce or Microsoft Dynamics, like enterprise CRMs, change the daily workflow of financial advisors?
Not sure if that would really change the workflow for financial advisors, because it would almost be redundant. If you have the data that's coming in to an archiving solution, we don't see that being pushed to CRM solutions unless they really need it, because it's basically already there in the CRM solution. The one thing that CRM solutions cannot do is there isn't an ability to review it for compliance reasons, right? And track it and track the lexicons and the information that's needed to be compliant. So the one thing that we're using CRMs for is to automatically whitelist all the clients' phones, right? All the employees' phones. So instead of going in and using your phone and downloading the app and selecting your client contacts, you could connect to Salesforce or Microsoft Dynamics at the corporate level, and then it'll automatically whitelist all the client contacts on your phone. So again, a lot easier for a larger firm to manage all the phones, even if they're personal phones, and the client contacts across the firm.
That seems like a great way to do that.
Yeah, otherwise, the larger firms probably wouldn't incorporate the idea of, hey, here's a phone and you can go in and select who your clients are. Right? They want to be able to manage that, and they also want to make it easier for their employees as well.
That makes sense to me. All right. So FINRA's 2025 regulatory notice on digital communications increasingly stresses preserving context and format, signaling a growing expectations around native format supervision. So can we explain what is native format supervision? And if we have, are we reaching this point where regulators will be expecting native format monitoring rather than just static PDF exports?
Oh, that's glad you asked that, because I see the native format more in the texting side than the email side of monitoring for compliance reasons. Texting you could do almost in real time and manage it. Email, we're starting to see that. We actually tried that early on, being proactive, where you could in real time monitor an email while they're typing in. If something's out of compliance, it would pop up and let you know that you need to change it. Advisors didn't love that, and employees didn't love that. So we turned it off. It was more of a nuisance than anything, and we said, all right, well, we'll just enhance the AI in the back end to help with social media, email. But texting is like something that we could be a little bit more native in. Email, I think eventually we'll get there. Social media, I'm not sure we'll be able to do that based on APIs and data that you're pulling in. But email and text, we should be able to do that natively.
That will be excellent. So, last question. So, what's on the roadmap for Archive Intel for 2026? Can you share anything?
Sure. Yeah, we in the last 3 or 4 months we launched AI marketing and review. We saw a need there. A lot of our clients were saying that, hey, we're with the new SEC marketing rules. We want to make sure that we're staying compliant. We're reviewing. We have an audit trail. Everyone was doing this manually that we've seen in the marketplace. So we built out a simple solution where a firm could upload their documents. AI will review it, show them if anything's out of compliance, tell them why it's out of compliance, give them offer suggestions to replace the context or the wording in that document, and then send it over for approval. And it could also go to a number of people at the firm for approval before sent back, really speeding up the ability to get marketing material out a lot faster. So that's one thing that a lot of firms are asking for these days. And the SEC does have more of a watch on that this year than they do on the texting. And then we also are looking to build out and add more apps and connectors that advisors and employees are using in the financial sector, such as TikTok, Reddit, Telegram, WeChat, and a few others. And then the last thing we want to build out is a full compliance suite, adding attestations and AI trade monitoring for firms that want everything all in one place, not just all of their e-coms or client communications and marketing, but also cover attestations and trade monitoring as well.
Now, I could get into a whole conversation about monitoring Reddit. That can't be easy.
No, I'm sure it's not, but it has come up a few times with some larger firms.
So they want their advisors to be able to post on Reddit, or they want to monitor comments from clients on Reddit?
Yeah, they want to monitor what their employees are posting on Reddit. Mm-hmm.
That sounds like it's useful, but it also sounds really complicated.
It does. We're also hearing firms say, "Do you think we should start archiving our ChatGPT right? If we're using that for email, or if we're using that to post anything out there, is that something that we should be starting to think about? So answer is, if you have, it's better to be safe than sorry. So if you could archive it and store it, just do it.
If you can store it, just do it. Just store it. The storage is cheap. Put everything, save everything.
That's right.
Cool. Well, Larry, we've run out of time. You've been an excellent guest. Where can the audience find more information about Archive Intel?
Yep, sure. On our website at archiveintel.com, there's plenty of information there. You could also schedule a demo with us and be happy to walk you through or answer any questions you have for us on Archive Intel.
Awesome, Larry. Thanks for being great talking to you.
Yeah, thank you, Craig. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Hey, it's Craig again. And here are my top 3 takeaways from this episode. Number 1, Archive Intel's AI-powered compliance solution helps wealth management firms dramatically reduce false positives in client communication reviews, saving them hundreds of hours per year and allowing compliance teams to focus on higher value work. 2, the product provides detailed reporting and documentation to help firms demonstrate model governance and explainability during regulatory audits, a key focus area for the SEC. 3, and finally, Archive Intel is expanding its platform to include AI-powered marketing review and plans to add more communication channels like Reddit, Telegram, and ChatGPT to its compliance archiving capabilities. Congratulations! You've reached the end of another episode of the WealthTech Today podcast. But before you go, please drop by our website, ezragroup.com, scroll to the bottom of the homepage, and sign up for our newsletter. Once a month, you'll receive an email full of wealth management goodness, news, information, and analysis. You won't be disappointed. Well, thanks again for listening, and talk to you all again next time.